Welcome to the BVTV Network, coming to you from the UK studios of BizVision. I'm your host, Malcolm Gallagher. This is episode 2 in the BVTV Be Prepared Trilogy with Emeritus Professor of Finance at Rampano College at New Jersey, now retired, I believe, to sunny Florida, and author Murray Sabrin. Hello again, Murray.
Thank you, Malcolm. It's great to be with you today. Enjoying the beautiful weather here in Southwest Florida.
Yeah. So have you retired now then, Murray?
Yeah, I retired July 1st, 2020 after 34 years of teaching finance. And one of my favorite courses that I taught, Malcolm, which students love, the business students, the finance students that took the course, is the financial history of the United States. I think it was one of the most important things I've done, not only as a professor of finance, but also in a career that spanned since 1968 as a public school teacher, an investment analyst, a commercial real estate analyst, and just loving to be involved in the great issues of our time and giving people, I think, the knowledge that I've learned over the past half century that what makes the economy tick and how we can make it better.
Yeah, it's a very exciting. And so is this book, by the way. And I said to you before we came on air that my favorite chapter is chapter 8, which is about small business. So I don't want my viewers who are maybe small businesses to think that this is all about corporate finance. There's some very, very, as I said to Murray before we started, there's a book by itself in chapter 8, and it will give you understanding as a small business about finance, so that when you're bidding and pitching for business to larger business, you'll be able to understand their what they're thinking and how they're going about. Now, as I say, Murray, I've enjoyed it. We've renamed this BVTV channel as The Visionary Entrepreneur, especially taking into account the poet Jonathan Swift's quote that vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. With regards to inflation, what is it that you are seeing that's invisible to others? And how do you help us all see it through the book?
Well, this is why I think it's so important to step back and say, why is inflation happening? And if we look at the data, and the data are available to anyone who goes to the Federal Reserve Economic Database published by the St. Louis Fed, in 2020, because of the pandemic, or what the Federal Reserve did and what the federal government did, is they spent money like crazy. First, the federal government spent money to stimulate the economy because of the lockdowns. And then the Federal Reserve created $4 trillion in virtually overnight in order to back up the government spending plans. The money supply, the broad money supply in the United States in 2020 grew by 25%, I think the most possibly in US financial history. And so it's no excuse for them to say why inflation is coming. Well, we know when you print money, inflation is going to happen, and we're seeing it in 2021 and now in 2022. So when you print that much money, that money will flow through the economy, which was the subject of my dissertation 40 years ago about how money spreads through the economy and raises prices. Now we're seeing it all over the country. Housing prices are on fire all over the country because of the cheap interest rates and the liquidity that's in the financial system that makes it possible for borrowers to borrow money at very cheap rates. And therefore, there's a huge incentive for that to happen. And so we're seeing the inevitable result of the money printing in 2020.
We're finding in the UK, obviously, we're worried about inflation this year. Gas prices, for example, heating our homes. Oh, we're going to be facing, in some cases, treble the cost that we've been having. And that all creates a pressure upon your personal finances, doesn't it? Especially if you've budgeted accordingly without sort of trying to look forward. How do you look forward to cope for these things? Well,
one of the things that people can do is to really realize what is happening. And inflation is, as the Federal Reserve no longer says, it's transitory. It's here. The question is, how long will it be here? And if we're in another major inflation cycle that's going to last 5, 10, 15 years or longer, we could see prices go to double digits very easily year over year. And if that happens, that means the average person's living standards will decline precipitously. And we will have recessions along the way, which we did from 1965 to 1982. We had a series of major recessions, including the 2 oil crises of the 1970s. So if we're in the second major inflation cycle since the 1960s, we could be in for a rocky time. But the really good news, Malcolm, and this is why I think it's important that people understand, you can make the business cycle your friend if you understand what's happening and act accordingly in order to prop up your business, strengthen your business, have these strategic partnerships with medium and large businesses if you're a small business owner, and do the things that's necessary. And one of the key words in the States, I'm sure it's in England also, is networking. It's so important for small businesses to network with not only businesses of the same size, but businesses of larger size that may provide them with resources that they otherwise would not have, and therefore they can build their business upon other businesses. And so that's the exciting thing about being entrepreneurial, is not bemoaning the fact that we're in a cycle, but what can you do in order to survive and thrive during the cycle?
Yeah. I also feel that at the moment we've got a range of unprecedented, if there is such a word, by the way, there are some people question that word, unprecedented happenings like climate change. But it's been around for a while, like supply chain problems. Well, we've had those before. Are we not learning?
Well, unfortunately not, because I've been talking about this for nearly a half a century. The free market is the best mechanism to increase living standards for everyone. And so what the people on the left say in your country, in my country, we need more socialism. Well, that is an oxymoron. If the free market provides us with higher living standards year after year and over the long term, then we want more free market institutions, more free market ideas. Instead, the left thinks that what we have today is it epitomizes the free market. No, what we have in America and in England is crony capitalism, where you have this synergistic, symbiotic relationship between businesses and government, and that's done at the expense of the average working family.
Yeah. Thanks, Murray. Now, by the way, viewers and listeners, you must have seen Murray's or heard Murray's energy that's putting into this interview, for which I'm truly grateful. But it's got the same energy in his book. This is certainly not a typical dry finance book. This is a book that will teach you a lot and help you, as Murray said beforehand there, to actually probably take advantage of boom bust. Thanks, Murray. Now, let's give viewers and listeners details of your URL, which obviously viewers can see on the screen behind me, but for listeners, let me spell that out. It's all the W's, Murray, which is spelled Murray, Sabrin, which is spelled Sabrin, murraysabrin.com. Murray's book, this one, is called Navigating the Boom Bust Cycle, an Entrepreneur's Survival Guide, and it's published by Business Expert Press. In episodes 1 and 2, Murray has helped us understand inflation and see what may be invisible to others. In episode 3, I'm going to ask him to continue his visionary thinking and help us know the 4 ways that a boom cycle is about to end. Murray, are you up for that?
Absolutely, Malcolm. Thank you again.